Welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. Obviously, nothing major really happened in Magic this week. It was kind of boring. It's not like Jace the Mind Sculptor and Bloodbraid Elf were unbanned in Modern or anything. Okay, so obviously it was a bit of a nutty week in Magic Finance, and while the Bloodbraid Elf unbanning is a fairly big deal on its own, it's enough to probably elevate Jund to Tier 1 status. The Jace unbanning is an even bigger deal. In fact, we can kind of throw away a lot of what we know about the Modern metagame and start from square one, because Jace is going to impact everything. So bear with me while I restructure the show a little bit and get into the Modern gainers now. It's what you're here for after all. And in Modern, the card that gained the most ground this week was Jace the Mind Sculptor. It jumped 43 tickets from 39 up to 82. A game that is even crazier when you remember, yeah, this was a 10-ticket card just a couple of weeks ago. So look, I stand by the statement I made last week when I said that if you bought Jace at 10, the smart money was still on selling into that hype when it was around 40 before it was unbanned. I really didn't think this was going to happen. But obviously, I hope that you didn't sell. I hope you still have them, because if you have, you won the lottery. Congratulations, you get to draft for free on Moto forever or something like that. At any rate, yeah, so I didn't think this was going to happen. It obviously did. I'm going to take a small win for reminding you to buy Jace when it was 10 tickets a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully we all made some money off of this. Now, where's Jace going to end up? I'm not sure. 82 seems a little bit high. It's starting to tick down a little bit from there. I expect it'll end up more in the 65 to 75 range, at least until Masters 25 comes out. So you can feel free to sell now if you like, but don't expect this card to tank. It is going to be a major part of Modern from here on out. Now, our second biggest Modern gainer of the week is Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf jumped 15 tickets from 28 up to 43, and that makes a lot of sense. It's not only best friends with Bloodbraid Elf, it's actually a good way to protect your Jace in some kind of maybe blue-green shell? I don't know. Also, Tarmogoyf is going to benefit from Lightning Bolt, making a bit of a comeback in the format, replacing Fatal Push perhaps as the removal spell of choice in a lot of decks. Not only does Lightning Bolt help fight against Jace, because you can target the Planeswalker with your Lightning Bolt, can't so much with a Fatal Push, it's also a good way to help prevent dead Cascades. Next up, we've got Kolaghan's Command, which jumped 12 tickets from 23 up to about 35. And while I do really like this card, it's fundamentally sound, it's really good with Bloodbraid Elf, it's going to be played in Jund. I think the price went a little bit too crazy based on this unbanning. I think it's more going to be like a 29 to 30 ticket card, not 35 plus. And the price is already starting to tick down again a bit here, so if you've got a few extras, you may want to sell them. Moving down the list, we get to Thrun the Last Troll, which doubled in price this week, going from 5 tickets up to 10 tickets, and I get the thought process here. Thrun is the sort of card that can go in Jund and is good against Jace the Mind Sculptor. It also hasn't been printed in roughly a billion years, so there's a lot of upside here. The one thing that gives me pause is I haven't actually seen any good-looking lists that contain Thrun, so there's a little bit of risk if you go in at this point. Also up 5 tickets this week, Liliana of the Veil, which, just like Tarmogoyf, is pretty much a mandatory 4 of in any reasonable Jund deck. I expect Jace and Liliana to be the twin faces of Modern for at least this next little bit, so get used to seeing this card in the 70 ticket range. Now, there were a few other Modern cards that also gained 3 or 4 tickets this week. Things like Blackcleave Cliffs, Cryptic Command, Wooded Foothills, Liliana the Last Hope, Keranos God of Storms, Creeping Tar Pit, but the one I'd really like to focus on a little bit more is Disrupting Shoal. Now, Disrupting Shoal may actually be stone unplayable in Modern. It was less than a ticket 2 weeks ago. It's up to 8 tickets now, it's still rising, and that's because people want to use it to protect Jace the Mind Sculptor the same way they do with Force of Will and Legacy. And if that plan actually works, this is a 30 or 40 ticket card, because it was only printed once in Betrayers of Kamigawa. It is a lot more ground left to gain if it works. That's a big if, and it's just not a gamble I like to take, but it's absolutely worth monitoring going forward. So I'd like to end this segment by taking a look at a couple of cards that have made major gains in paper Magic over the past couple of days, but those gains haven't yet translated to MTGO. And usually, this happens in the reverse order. The metagame moves much quicker on MTGO, and the gains start in Magic Online, move to the paper space. But sometimes, in cases like this Jace unbanning, people can move quicker in paper Magic. They're interested in speculating based on things that may or may not happen 2 or 3 moves down the line, and then those gains can move online. So let's take a look at these cards. So there are 2 major groups of these cards. The first are the Jund staples that are up bigger in paper Magic than they are online. Dreadbore, Dark Confidant, Raging Ravine, all making gains that I haven't really seen translate to MTGO yet. The same with blue control staples. Cards like Snapcaster Mage, which is being bought out in paper Magic. Celestial Colonnade, a low supply blue control card. And Entreat the Angels, people are really trying to make miracles work. Also, Trinisphere, which some people are hoping will work against the blue Jace decks that are using a lot of low cantrips. So meanwhile, there were a few cards that actually lost value in Modern this week. Cards like Batterskull, Mox Opal, and Collective Brutality. Now, Batterskull makes sense. I think people were only buying this card because they were hoping that maybe Stoneforge Mystic would be unbanned in Modern and they could cash in on their Batterskulls. That didn't pay off, so Batterskull is gone. Now, Collective Brutality is a lot more interesting. That card had some major gains after the Pro Tour. It looked so good in Spain. It's dropped about 25% of its value over the past couple of weeks. I don't think that drop is going to continue. You know how Kolaghan's command had a massive spike after the Bloodbraid Elf unbanning? Well, Collective Brutality is maybe even a better cascade with the Elf. It's going to be really good in Bloodbraid Jund. So once this thing bottoms out, you definitely want to get in. It's going to start going back up again. And then we come to Mox Opal, which is probably dropping in value because Lantern Control not going to be quite so good in a metagame with all those Jaces running around. But the thing to remember is that Affinity is one of the few decks that can actually race against that powerful Planeswalker and win, so I don't expect this drop to continue either. Let's move on to Standard, where our biggest gainer of the week, really our only significant gainer of the week, was Rekindling Phoenix. The card jumped 4 tickets from 26 up to about 30, and even that's a little bit misleading. The card actually peaked at 32 tickets toward the middle of last week and has been declining a bit since then. So it looks like the Standard market is heading into a bit of a downturn, and there are 2 major reasons for this. The first, we're well past the bannings now, the metagame stabilized a bit, there's not a lot of major surprises happening. And the second, Modern is really exciting right now. People either want to build the latest, newest, coolest Jace decks, or they want to build the latest, coolest, newest decks that are going to help defeat Jace. And they're going to sell their Standard cards in order to buy Modern ones. Let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Traders sales data over the past 7 days. And as always, this gives us a great window into what is the most popular, what is selling the best on Magic Online right now. Now, in terms of overall copies sold, our number 1 this week, the freshly unbanned Bloodbraid Elf, followed pretty closely by Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Duress, Field of Ruin. But number 6 on the list, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Since I've started doing these videos, this is the first time I've seen a rare or a mythic anywhere near the top 5. And that says a lot about how real the Jace demand is. People are buying these cards, they're brewing with them, they're playing with them, the demand is real. Now in terms of overall value sold, you guessed it, it's Jace the Mind Sculptor by a country mile. After him, you get modern staples like Liliana of the Veil and Tarmogoyf, as well as a couple of standard favorites in Rekindling Phoenix and the Scarab God. Most of the rest of that top 10 is modern though, including Collective Brutality, which bodes well for the sort of rebound that I'm expecting that card to have over the next couple of weeks. That's all I got for you today. Don't forget to like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next Monday for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.